Hey guys, Nick here. Today I'll be going over every platinum trophy I earned in 2023. This is my third year doing this, and if you watched any of those previous videos before, you would know what to expect. I'll be going over each game, give a brief description, and go over some notable trophies I feel like have to be talked about, and that's pretty much it. Also, I know I'm 3 months late. I did better than last year. Last year I was 5 months late, so I've improved. I'm a better person now. But anyways, that's it. I hope you enjoy. My first platinum of 2023 belongs to a game that may have been really buggy, janky, and annoying to play, but weirdly, it was also fun. This game is Police Simulator Patrol Officers, developed by Acer Interactive. Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? As you probably guessed from the name, you play as a police officer on patrol, pulling people over for things, such as driving under the influence, running a red light, not using your turn signal, speeding, and others. It's a very chill game if you want to play something that doesn't stress you out like lots of games now. Now, some of the trophies are very simple that only require you to do something once, but the ones that make this platinum grindy are the ones that require you to do multiple of said things, like arresting 40 people for DUI, reporting 100 people that were speeding, and justifiably get 50 cars towed. It's not hard to do all this, it's just annoying to do. Next on the list is Hogwarts Legacy, an action RPG taking place in the Harry Potter universe. The game was developed by Avalanche Software. No, not the Avalanche that made the Just Cause games. This is the one that previously developed a lot of Disney-related games, but for a studio that has only made pretty low-quality games, I'm very impressed with how good this game was. It plays very well and is pretty high quality. In my opinion, it wasn't that great. For a game called Hogwarts Legacy, you'd think the map would include Hogwarts and its immediate surrounding areas, right? Well, not even close. Hogwarts takes up about 5% of the total map size, and most of it just feels very bland. Grabbing all the collectibles is such a drag on a map having no business being this big, and don't even get me started on the Merlin trials. That basically just takes the same 8 puzzles and duplicates them to 95 different locations on the map. It's safe to say I didn't enjoy going for this. The only bright side was that it was easy to do everything, but it took a long time. Now this game may seem familiar, as it's a game I platinumed before on PS4 back in 2021. Subnautica is an adventure survival game developed by Unknown Worlds Entertainment that takes place on the distant planet 4546b in the future. The objective of the game is to escape the planet you're stranded on. To do this, you must discover ancient facilities and unlock new technologies that you can build to help navigate the depths of the deepest areas. A lot of survival games suffer for something I call being too bland and boring. Now, Subnautica does not suffer from this. Its unique setting and game mechanics really stand it out from the crowd. Newcomers to the genre really should give this one a shot. The platinum is very simple to get, which is also different from other survival games. It requires you to discover some different locations, build certain vehicles to help you navigate, and set up your own base. All of that stuff is stuff you have to do to finish the game. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is an action-adventure game developed by Ubisoft that was released back in 2015. This game is the last in the series that has the more traditional feel before they switched to more of an RPG with Assassin's Creed Origins. In this game, you play as a pair of twins, Jacob and Evie, on a quest to liberate London from the clutches of the Templar Order. In order to do this, yeah, you guessed it, you have to start a gang. Because I guess gangs were popular in the 1860s. The story is nothing special. It basically follows the same premise from every Assassin's Creed game in history. Stab the bad guys before they use powerful objects, known as the Pieces of Eden, to do bad guy things. Now, the Platinum can actually be a little difficult, because you have to do every optional objective for every memory, and some aren't very easy. You must also grab all the collectibles and level up to the max. There's also a lot of random small things you have to do. It doesn't take a terribly long time to get all the trophies, but it certainly isn't short. Tchia is an action-adventure game developed by Awaseb, taking place on a group of islands inspired by New Caledonia. In this game, you play as a 12-year-old girl that gains the ability to soul jump, which means she can possess random items or animals. This game reminds me a lot of the Zelda games, especially with traversal like climbing mountains and gliding, since they both use a stamina meter for that. It's a cute indie game that was fun to play. It even won the Game Award for Games for Impact, which is awarded to games with meaning or a thoughtful message. To get the Platinum, you have to 100% everything, which includes destroying statues, opening treasure chests, and clear soldier camps, as well as some others. And yes, you must beat the game too. There's also some miscellaneous trophies that are easy to complete. Oh boy, I have something to say about this one. Sonic Frontiers is an open-world platform game developed by Sonic Team. I'm not going to talk about the plot, it was just very uninteresting to me. But this game is weird. The open world is just completely filled with the dumbest puzzles I've ever done, and there's a lot of them. The best part of the game are the cyberspace levels, which are a lot like the daytime levels of Sonic Unleashed and the levels of Sonic Colors. I just wish the game was more centered around these. Platinum isn't too bad to obtain. First and foremost, you must complete the main story, then complete every challenge and side story, which are just little cutscenes. You also have to max out all your skills, defeat all Guardian types, complete every challenge on every map. It's all pretty easy, but I just didn't enjoy doing all of this. Weirdly enough though, I consider this a step in the right direction for Sonic Team, even though I didn't really like it. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, developed by Respawn Entertainment. You take control as Cal Kestis, a Jedi Knight battling the Empire any way you can. Now this game was a huge mess on release, especially on PC. On PS5 it wasn't as bad, but man was it frustrating. The 60 FPS performance mode very rarely ran 60 FPS. The biggest planet to explore was basically Stutter City. It was so badly optimized on release, and to this day, you still can't get consistent frames. There was an update back in September of 2023 that improved performance, but some issues still remain. Getting to Plat is a bit of a drag. You must complete the story, fully upgrade 3 skill trees, complete all Jedi chambers, and win all holotastic matches, which is a little strategy game where you place troops and the AI plays out the game where the opposing sides just fight until one team has no troops remaining. There's a buttload of random trophies to obtain, like this one for example, which is certainly interesting that it exists. Dredge is a fishing game developed by Black Salt Games. In it, you take control of a small boat and catch fish and sell them. The game has a pretty dark aspect to it. Some of the fish you catch can be very unsettling to look at, and when you're fishing during the night, your panic meter goes up, which leads you to see some pretty wild hallucinations. The game also harbors a dark story that you should experience yourself. Definitely one of the best indie games of the year. To get the platinum, you must catch every species of fish, research all equipment parts, upgrade your hull completely, and some others. It takes about 20 hours to platinum this game, which is, in my opinion, the perfect amount of time to complete everything. Now this one may seem surprising. This game came out back in 2015 and is one of my most played games ever, and I've never cared about getting the platinum until now. Fallout 4 is an action RPG developed by Bethesda Game Studios. In it, you take control of a vault dweller that leaves the vault as a sole survivor, going on a quest to find your kidnapped son. On your journey, you come across different settlements, factions, and companions. The settlement building is the most uninteresting part of the game because it's super janky and nothing wants to work. A lot of the platinum entails completing the main story and doing faction quests. You also have to reach level 50 and collect 20 bobbleheads scattered across the map. The rest is actually pretty easy, but it does require some grinding. The new Spider-Man game from Insomniac Games was coming out late in the year, and there was no better way to prepare than to platinum the remastered version of Spider-Man for PS5, and it's as good as I remember it. The combat is very fluid, the graphics are very stunning, and the web swinging is definitely my favorite part of the game. You play as the 23-year-old Peter Parker, who's been Spider-Man for 8 years. The plot centers around the aftermath of putting the Kingpin in prison, and it features lots of classic Spider-Man villains. As far as getting the platinum goes, it's very straightforward. It requires 100%ing the game, as well as some other things, like getting spectacular rank and task mailer challenges, completing all projects in the lab, which are just 2 different minigames with multiple levels, and performing 75 stealth takedowns. All this takes roughly 20 to 25 hours, which is a perfect amount of time for platinums in my opinion. Humanity is a puzzle game developed by Tchia Ltd. I have no idea if that's supposed to be pronounced or spelt, the internet failed to tell me. In this game, you play as a Shiba Inu that guides crowds of people to the end of levels. To do this, you place commands down on the level, and that forces your minions to change direction, jump, float, or attack enemies known as others. This game is quite unique, and normally I don't play puzzle games, but this one was very fun to play. Platinum is quite simple. You have to complete the game while also collecting optional collectibles called goldies in every level, complete optional objectives in 7 different levels, and complete some milestones that you are most likely to unlock naturally anyway. Final Fantasy XVI is an action RPG developed by Square Enix Creative Business Unit 3, the best name for a studio I've ever heard. You play as a bearer named Clive Rosfield. A bearer is someone that can use magic without crystals. On your journey, your goal is to destroy the Mother Crystals, which play a part in creating wastelands that no living things can live in, and it's spreading faster and faster. I'm not going to give away the plot that much, because it's very complicated and even I barely understand it. This platinum is one of the more annoying ones of the year. To acquire it, you have to finish the game, complete all side quests, kill all creatures on the hunt board, collect all collectibles, complete a shit ton of optional combat trophies, and finish the game again on New Game Plus on the hardest difficulty. Like I said, this was very annoying. It took me over a month to get this platinum. This next one contains 3 platinums, and all of them require pretty much the same thing. Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection is a collection of the first 3 games in the series developed by Naughty Dog, all remastered by Bluepoint Games on PS4. In them, you play as Nathan Drake, a charismatic treasure hunter going on insane adventures to strike rich. The series is iconic for a reason. The set pieces are insane, the story is great, the combat is fun, and the humor is amusing. These games are very simple to platinum, because they all require the same trophies. For example, you must complete the games on the hardest difficulty, find all treasures, defeat enemies with headshots, hand-to-hand combat, hip firing, and get a certain amount of kills with every weapon. And you also have to complete speedruns of a few chapters in each game. Endling is a survival adventure game developed by Hero Beat Studios. In the game, you play in a post-apocalyptic world as a fox with her newborn cubs. The goal is to survive 30 days by finding food, avoiding dangers, and teaching your cubs new tricks to help them survive. I really like the art of this game. It's got a cute art style, but the story and the environment is pretty dark. I had some trouble with the platinum for this game. The Omnivore trophy just didn't pop on my second playthrough. On the second playthrough, I followed a specific guide to the T, and it didn't pop. So I did a third playthrough, following the same guide, and it finally popped. I'm not sure what happened. Anyways, it's a pretty simple platinum. You have to finish the game with all your cubs alive, learn all cub skills, and some miscellaneous trophies that don't require much effort. Now for the first VR game on the list. I'm not counting Humanity because I didn't play it in VR. Walkabout Minigolf is a, you guessed it, minigolf game developed by Mighty Coconut. You may think I'm joking, but this might be one of the best VR games I've ever played. It's just very fun to play and the physics are just about perfect, which is something a lot of VR games don't do very well. My favorite thing the developers have been doing is releasing DLC courses for a very small amount of money. Each one is either $3 or $4. The Platinum Trophy is straightforward, but it can be challenging. It requires completing every main course on hard, getting par or better, score -18 on any course, and score an albatross on any hole. These are the hardest ones to get, but the driving range trophies are just straight up annoying, especially the Target Master Trophy, where there are targets scattered throughout the driving range, and some of them are so hard to get. Mainly because the tracking isn't exact when you're swinging your club pretty quickly. It'll take effort to get them, but it's doable. Destroy All Humans Remake was developed by Black Forest Games 15 years after the original came out. You play as Crypto, an alien from the planet Theron. He arrives on Earth in the 1950s to harvest human DNA. The story is very uninteresting, but the game is just some stupid fun. The different alien weapons are fun, the psychokinetic powers are hilarious, and the flying saucer is very satisfying to use. If you're looking for a satisfying game to just kick back and have fun with, this would be a good one. The Platinum is pretty simple for the most part. It requires completing the main missions while completing all optional objectives, ace all challenges, and lots of random, small, miscellaneous trophies. Now, this next game is a very different game. Like it couldn't be more different from this one. There's not one similarity, it's crazy. Yeah, it's the sequel. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed was developed by Black Forest Games and is the remake of Destroy All Humans 2 that came out in 2006. This remake is pretty much the same as the last one when it comes to game mechanics and graphics, but there is some new stuff, like different weapons, but not much else. The game is much larger though, there's not much else to say about it, but it was a fun game. This game may take a little longer to platinum though. To get it, you have to complete all missions while completing the optional objectives, unlock all Gene Blender upgrades, grab all collectibles, complete all skate routes, complete all side missions, and finish some other miscellaneous trophies. So yeah, it's pretty much the same as the last game, but there are some more grindy trophies in there. Next up is Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, a game developed by Team Reptile. It's a spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio, and it was very much needed. After waiting for over 20 years for a new Jet Set Radio game, Team Reptile just decides to screw it and make it themselves. You play as Red, a dude with a robotic head for the most part, but you can play as several other unlockable characters. The game takes place in a fictional city called New Amsterdam. There are 5 boroughs in the city, and if your gang could take down the other gangs in each borough, you'll become All City, which basically means you made your name known throughout the whole city by your graffiti and rep. Anyway, on to the Platinum Trophy. Getting it requires you to complete the story, hit all graffiti spots, beat the score combo in each stage, find all penguin statues, and some cleanup. It's not terrible, but beating the score combos are annoying. It takes a lot of time to get some of them high enough. If you watched last year's video, you may be asking yourself, what the heck, Nick? Didn't you already platinum this game? And the answer is yes. Yes, I did. But this one is for the PSVR 2 version, so I'll make this short. Beat Saber is a rhythm game developed by Beat Games for VR systems. The gameplay is very simple. You slice blocks to the beat of music. The trophies are the same as the original version. You must complete the campaign, full combo 15 songs in Hard and Expert, get S rank on 15 songs on Hard and Expert, get SS rank on any song in Expert, and play for 24 hours total, which is a long time to spend in a VR game. Spongebob Squarepants The Cosmic Shake is a platform game developed by Purple Lamp, which is the same studio that remastered Battle for Bikini Bottom, and you could definitely tell. The gameplay is pretty much the exact same with a few new mechanics. But this time, you only play as SpongeBob, and for some reason, Patrick became a balloon, and he just kind of follows you around all game. If you enjoyed Battle for Bikini Bottom, you'll enjoy this as well. And just like Battle for Bikini Bottom, the Platinum Trophy is pretty simple. You have to finish the story, complete all collectible quests, purchase all costumes, complete trophies for specific boss fights, and finish up some combat and miscellaneous trophies. Now, this next entry is a big one. Resident Evil 4 is a survival horror game developed by Capcom. This is a remake of the original that came out in 2005. Now, this game I could talk about forever, but I've got to keep these pretty brief or else the video will be too long. Anyway, the game is perfect, easily my game of the year for 2023. The gameplay is sharp, the characters are memorable, the story is engaging, the enemies in the world really do their best to keep me on my toes. And the game is beautiful. The devs even developed a VR version after the initial release, and I played through the whole thing, and it works really well. For a non-VR game that became a VR game, it's one of my favorite VR games in recent memory. Now for the trophies. The minimum amount of playthroughs you need to do is 4, but that's only if you combine so many trophies together for every run of the game. But for a more realistic amount, I want to say it took me about 6 or 7 playthroughs. That would make a lot of people say no thanks when going for this platinum, but this game has so much replayability to it. I enjoyed every playthrough I've done. I'll just go over the trophies you need to dedicate a whole playthrough for. These are: complete all treasures and castellans and merchant requests, get S+ rank on standard difficulty, get S+ on hardcore difficulty, finish without using knives and handguns, finish without using healing items, finish without talking to the merchant, get at least an A on professional difficulty, and get S+ rank on the 3 mercenary mode maps. Life is Strange 2 is an episodic adventure game developed by Don't Nod Entertainment. Now this entry in the series has a whole new cast of characters, but it all exists in the same universe as the first game. This game first takes place in Seattle, but events transpire that take the setting farther and farther south towards Mexico. The game has some hard-hitting topics, mostly racism, but it also tackles gun violence. To be honest, I didn't really enjoy playing it. I've played through the game before, not long after the second episode came out, but I only played through the first episode and just never came back to it. Then I thought, hey, it's an easy platinum, so I went back and played through every episode. Now speaking of the platinum, it's super simple. Just like the first game, all you need to do is finish the game and find every collectible in the game. So yeah, it's pretty easy. The second of 3 Resident Evil Platinums on the list, Resident Evil 7, is a survival horror game developed by Capcom. This entry marked a return to the roots of the series, being more focused on horror than action. It's also the first game to feature a first-person view. You play as Ethan Winters, who learns his missing wife is still alive and heads to Louisiana to get her. But things go awry when he explores the Baker residence. He gets captured and must fight for his life to get himself and his wife out of there. Now this is the PS5 version of the game that was released in 2022 as a free upgraded original back in 2017. I did play the original back then, but never got the platinum. Now this platinum is much easier than Resident Evil 4, as it can be done in 3 playthroughs. Here's what to do for each. On your first playthrough, concentrate on collectibles and the missable trophies and finish the game. On your second playthrough, play on easy and speedrun the game in under 4 hours and don't use the item box or medkits. On the third playthrough, play on Madhouse difficulty while using a guide to grab every antique coin and do the other ending you didn't do earlier. Cocoon is a puzzle adventure game developed by a new studio called Geometric Interactive. It is probably my favorite indie game of the year, followed by Dredge. In this game, you take control of some sort of insect. I don't know what it is. Let me tell you though, the visuals of this game are unlike anything I've seen in a game before. They're very stunning, and the animations are so slick. The puzzles in the game aren't very difficult, but they're challenging enough where you could get stuck. I personally had to look at a walkthrough in one spot, but I think that was just because I'm an idiot. This platinum is simple and is perfect for a game like this. All you have to do is finish the game and find every moon ancestor, which are basically just statues scattered across the game. Assassin's Creed Mirage is the 13th main installment in the franchise. This one was developed by a newer studio in Ubisoft called Ubisoft Bordeaux. In this game, you play as a character that was featured in Assassin's Creed Valhalla named Basim, a street thief who later joined the Hidden Ones, which is what the Assassins were called before they came up with the name Assassins. The game feels a lot like Valhalla, which can be explained because this game was originally meant to be DLC, but then it got bigger and bigger, and Ubisoft eventually had the idea to make it standalone. It's about the length of the old school Assassin's games, but they made the price $50 instead of $20, which is like the best thing they could have done for a game like this size. The gameplay is pretty fun, focusing more on stealth than action. My biggest issue is the story. I just find it very uninteresting. I couldn't even tell you what happens in the game from memory. Now for the platinum. It's not too difficult, but it is a bit annoying. First and foremost, you must beat the game. You must also sync all viewpoints, grab every collectible, unlock all skills, fully upgrade all tools, and finish up some miscellaneous trophies you may be missing. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is a superhero game developed by Insomniac Games. It is the third game in the franchise after the original and Miles Morales. The devs took what made the other games special and really just refined the mechanics and added lots of new abilities. Now that you play as two Spider-Men, they had to add abilities that are unique to each character and add some that are shared. They just did a really good job in this aspect. The game itself is amazing. The graphics are stunning, the gameplay is silky smooth, and the story is engaging. It's easy to see why it's gotten awards in multiple categories. If you've played the previous Spider-Man games, the trophy list will feel very familiar. It requires completing the story and 100%ing every district, as well as easily obtainable miscellaneous trophies like stealth takedown 25 enemies in stealth from the web line and perform 30 air tricks in a row without touching the ground. The third and final Resident Evil game on the list, Resident Evil 2, developed by Capcom, is the remake of the original that came out in 1998. I played the game originally on PC, and at the time this was my favorite horror game I've ever played, until I played Resident Evil 4. In this game, you take control of Leon Kennedy, a rookie police officer, and Claire Redfield, who is the sister of one of the playable characters from the first game. Each character has their own storyline, and you can complete either of them in any order you want. Now the game does a lot of things very well. For me though, the best thing it does is the suspense. You have to be very careful with every step you take, and the character that chases you around the police station, Mr. X, is terrifying. Now onto the platinum. Like the previous Resident Evil games on this one requires multiple playthroughs. The very minimum you need is 4. You'll more likely need to do 6. Here's what you need to do for each. For the first 2 playthroughs, finish the game with each character on assisted difficulty while grabbing all collectibles and getting the combat and boss related trophies. The next 2 playthroughs, get S rank on standard difficulty with each character. This unlocks an infinite ammo handgun that you can use on the next 2 playthroughs, which is to finish the game on hardcore with each character. You might have to do a cleanup run of the game to get these 3 trophies if you haven't gotten them yet. And then finally, complete the 4th survivor mode, which takes less than 15 minutes. If you like casual games with puzzle mechanics, this is a game for you. Jusant is a climbing platformer puzzle game developed by Don't Nod, the second title on this list. In the game, you take control of an unnamed character with a companion called a Ballast. They go on a climbing journey to the top of this rocky pillar structure It's filled with remains of a civilization that lived on the pillar from top to bottom. There's no dialogue at all, so it relies on telling the story through the environment. It's a very chill game, and it's a simple platinum. To get it, you must complete the game while collecting everything. There's a few random trophies you may have to go back to, but they're very simple, and there's chapter select, which makes it pretty painless to get to. Alan Wake 2, a survival horror game developed by Remedy Entertainment, is a special game. It's gotten multiple nominations for different categories, but for some reason, it still feels so underrated. This game is set 13 years after the original. Coincidentally, this game was also released 13 years after the original. You play as two playable characters. One is Alan Wake, a writer trying to escape the prison he put himself in the first game. The second is Saga Anderson, an FBI special agent investigating a series of ritualistic murders. Each character has their own story that is merged into one. It's done very well. You can choose which character you can play as and play their story, but what's really cool is you can switch between them and play a segment of their story and then switch back. It's really cool how they do this. Now for the platinum. I did 2 playthroughs for this, but you can do it in one. You need to finish the game and grab every collectible except for a few types. It's best to follow a trophy guide. There's also combat trophies that aren't difficult. The hard part is just remembering to do them while the opportunity is there.